All right, we're going to go over our CER notes. I know most of you are familiar with these, maybe, right? Writing a conclusion based on one particular experiment, and that's what all we're doing is we're just writing a conclusion paragraph. It's not, 1.5, 2 pages. It's just a simple paragraph that's going to have your claim, your evidence, and your reasoning. And we're going to talk about all of those, and we're going to do one practice, and then we are going to actually write a CER in our next unit. We're going to do a photosynthesis lab, and you guys are going to write a conclusion paragraph based on photosynthesis lab. All right, so let's get on with it. So there's really no essential question for this. I guess, it could be a basic, how do you write a CER paragraph? Um, that may be just a question that I do want you to still highlight. It's going to be difficult to highlight and, circle keywords and things like that. So interact with these notes. All right, so what is the purpose of a CER? As I mentioned before, it's just a conclusion, right? Scientists are always making claims or conclusions about how the natural world works. They're not opinions. A claim can only be trusted if they're backed by lots of evidence, right? And logical thinking. So, just like anything else, just like, you run an experiment, you do a claim, it's not, we're not making this up. It's not an opinion. It's just based on evidence, right? So we need to make a claim that can be supported by evidence and to give evidence others of their claim, which is why we need the reasoning. In this class, we're going to practice writing and talking in the CER format so that we understand how scientists work or you work, right? So it translates into better argumentation, writing, and critical thinking skills, which you will need in other subjects. But remember that it's succinct. It's really short and to the point. We don't need to do this long, drawn out conclude paragraph when you can, do it in simple forms, right? So remember, we're only freshmen. We're not expecting, doctoral level work. We're just writing based on what you. Okay, so the claim. So a claim, the simple thing is it just answers the investigation question, right? So you should be able to guess or not guess, but you should be able to determine what the question is based on what your claim is, right? So it is clear to the reader what the question was without having to look up the question, right? So it needs to be a simple sentence um, using specific language, right? We want to go back to English where we want to keep it passive, right? Remember, active is I think, I did this, we did this, things, based in the experiment, the results were those are the things that we want um, in our claim. Well, that wasn't a true claim, but we'll talk about it. But we want to keep it passive. So when you write your claim, you're going to highlight it in green. I know that we're typing everything, so don't make it a green font. Do regular font, black font. Get the highlighter from the tool and highlight it, right? Because when you start doing it, you're going to see we're going to do yellow, and if you use yellow font, we can't read it. All right. So, and another point that it's not on here that I want to make is that if you write your claim and you write because, stop there, cross out because. I never want to see a because in the claim because that's going to be the reasoning, right? So we don't need a reasoning in the claim. You're just making a claim, and then we're going to do evidence, and then we're going to do reasoning, right? So evidence. Remember, we talked about qualitative and quantitative data. We need to include all of that, right? So, it's going to be, so your claim is one sentence, evidence is going to be maybe 3 to 4 sentences. It's going to be nice and simple. It has to support your claim, though. You have to tie it into your claim. If you're going to say something, and you'll see this in our example, if you're going to make a claim, the evidence has to support the claim, right? So you can't just pull data out of anywhere. It has to support the claim. So a good way to do quantitative is specific data, right? So it's 25 degrees Celsius. It took 15 seconds, right? So, that is data. Trends and comparing and contrast, those are qualitative, right? Or, well, okay, so as the temperature of the water increased, the time to dissolve decreased. So that's qualitative, right? That's describing what's going on. And this is actually the compare and contrast could be, you know, this could be quantitative when you have 10 seconds longer, but if you just say, the tablet took longer to dissolve in the, colder water than in the warmer water, that you could change into qualitative, right? Because you're not giving any specific numbers, you're just describing what happens. But you could have this as your quantitative, right? So there's a good examples of quantitative and qualitative data. Remember to highlight the evidence in yellow, all right? So again, 3 to 4 sentences of evidence, you're gonna highlight it in yellow. Remember, don't use the yellow font because I can't read it. I'm old and my eyes don't work very well. So please use black font and go to the tool and highlight it in yellow. All right. And the only reason why I say that is because I've seen people do that. All right, and the explanation, so the reasoning, this is scientific reasoning, right? Biological principles. So use your information from your notes, textbooks, previous knowledge. Don't be afraid to use previous knowledge. That's fine, all right, as long as it's correct, right? Allows the reader to easily follow the logic. And it says use connected words, like however, on the other hand, therefore, so based on the evidence. Okay, so usually what I do is I give you an example in class, but now I'm just recording my lecture, so I can't really give you an example. And then we're going to restate the claim. All right, I just want to go back. So it's on the next slide that we're going to go ahead. Highlight the reasoning in pink. Okay, don't do red because red is pretty dark, right? So a lighter shade of red, right? So it's green, yellow, red. And then the last sentence is restating the claim. So highlight the concluding statement in green. And so that would be this last one. This evidence suggests that restating the claim. Well, actually, that would be a because. This is reasoning. I'm sorry. So, but you are going to restate the claim. So the first sentence, you're going to go ahead and write in a different way. You sort of say the same thing, based on the evidence, da 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 da, and then you can highlight that green. A lot of questions come up. So, and you might have this in class. Do you need to do all the evidence at once and then all the reasoning at once? No, you don't. If you want to write an evidence statement and then a reasoning statement, you may do that. Just make sure that you're highlighting the evidence in yellow and highlighting the evidence, the reasoning in red. So you don't need to do it all in blocks. You can, do evidence, write your reasoning, evidence, reasoning. But the only issue I have with that, I'm not going to mark you down or anything, is that people sometimes get confused on what's evidence and what's reasoning. So just anytime you are thinking a statement in the because, okay, this is happening because, well, the because is reasoning, right? And then this is happening is evidence. All right. Okay, so this is what I want you to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to read the sentence. And we're just going to write through it. I know that I'll have to think about how we can do it because you can't do it on a presentation. But if we are going to go ahead and write the sentence, if you increase the amount of light a plant is exposed to, the plant will grow a lot larger. So this is our claim, right? Whoops. So if you look at the sentence, it answers a question. So you can base what the experimenter is doing or what you did, right? So you increase the amount of light in your experiment and on a plant. And what happened when you increase the amount of light on a plant? The plant grew larger. So that's our evidence. That's our claim. So what's the evidence? Okay, so you need to explain what was going on. So the plant was exposed to light for 6 hours a day and grew 4 inches taller than the plant exposed to 4 hours of light a day. So again, this evidence supports your claim. So so here's your quantitative, right? Because it grew 4 inches taller when the plant was exposed to 4 hours of light. If you just said it grew taller than the plant, that would be your qualitative, but we need quantitative. So tell me a number. And then the next sentence says the that was exposed to light for 6 hours a day. Even though there's a number in here, this is a qualitative statement because all we're saying is that the leaves has twice as much surface area as a plant that were exposed to 4 hours of light. So you are comparing, right? And that twice, even though it's sort of a comparing, it's not really giving me an exact number. We're not telling you how much what the surface area was. We're just telling you it was twice as much. And then so that's our evidence. And then our reasoning is a plant that is exposed to more light is able to photosynthesize longer, allowing it to gain more energy. The more energy it collects, the more it can put into energy into growing more cells, therefore enabling it to collect more sunlight. So here's our reasoning. It all goes back to this claim. You can see that we didn't get real technical. I think this is information that we can sort of we know from previous knowledge, and obviously we would um, um, talk about photosynthesis and what the process is, and but it's not a real complex reasoning. And then we went ahead and we um, stated the claim. So you can see that it's different than the previous one. The more light a plant is exposed to, the larger it will grow. So nice, simple claim sentence. And you can see that this isn't like I mentioned before, I think this is my third time mentioning this, but it's not a long paragraph, right? We have maybe 6 sentences, so, anywhere from 6 to 10 sentences is all you really need to do. Don't think that the more you write, the better it will get. I think sometimes the more we write, the more confused we get. All right. So keep it simple. All right. That's really the only thing that I can tell you. All right. So again, this is for our photosynthesis lab simulation that we're going to be doing next unit. Um, we will be practicing writing CERs.